Guys, let's get 800 likes and I will release the next part. A source of unprecedented energy, a figure descends. Two guys are waiting at the bottom of it, but they don't have time to react to the movement. A guy with brown hair, deep yellow eyes, and aristocratic features takes out his opponents in an instant. He curses under his breath, noting that his wound has reopened. On the neck of the hero is a decoration of emerald color. He recalls that he recently read a letter saying that if he didn't show up between noon tomorrow, then he should wait for the corpse of his student. The blonde man grabs the amulet, remembering the events of the past. He once sat on a throne and held on to this ornament as well. It was given to him by a disciple, but the hero did not understand the etiquette of worldly life, so he asked to take it back. The disciple, on her knees and clasping her hands in a prayer gesture, only noted that she was extremely lucky to become a personal disciple of the Celestial. She also explained that this is an offering for the invitation of the mentor, which expresses all the wishes of the student. The hero, after such words, got up from his throne and approached the girl, saying that she only needed to diligently learn from him the art of becoming a celestial, and the reward for her was to become a god. It will eventually become immortal. Events are returned in real time. The student is chained to a tall black pillar, along which scarlet cracks radiate in a chaotic manner. She has thick chains on her hands, and she quietly calls out to her mentor for help. There are many creatures at the bottom of this object. The hero lands on a rock nearby. He assesses the situation and does not rush into battle headlong. Downstairs, two people are talking to each other. One asks if Luo Wuji really will appear. The interlocutor only emphasizes that if the goal does not come, then in any case they will have a beautiful student on their hands with whom they can have a good time. The white-haired man realizes that he can't let his student die. He rushes into the crowd of enemies, shouting that they have wounded his student. Everyone present is shocked by Luo Wuji's unexpected appearance. They reach for their weapons, but it's too late. The hero gets rid of everyone at an incredible speed. The disciple continues to call for help, and the celestial asks her to hold on. He takes a careless step forward, and then a strange string of symbols radiates from his foot, which turns into a circle. Luo Wuji realizes that these are most likely the 10 violent arrays. A drop of water runs down his face, cold sweat, and in the next instant, a sinister energy pierces through him, causing him to spit out a blood clot. He falls to his knees, leaning on his sword, and the student's face changes. From a poor rabbit that needed to be saved, she turns into a creature that laughs hysterically. The chains that bound her all this time disappear. Luo Wuji holds onto his heart, already understanding what happened. The girl suggests that the mentor give his mantle to her. She points out that he has a cold personality, and he never valued the friendship between them, so he has driven himself into this trap that can only be used by others. It would be nice to see through it. The representative of the fair sex admits that she expected that for the sake of saving the student, he would fight despite severe injuries and show such extreme inattention. It really touched her. Luo Wuji decides to find out what she's up to after all. A golden bundle of energy forms at the tips of the interlocutor's fingers. In a split second, it appears at the forehead of a hero who can't move. The student asks to give her the heavenly cannon. In this case, it will give the mentor an easy death. The girl grabs a jet of blue energy, which shackles the guy's actions. She points out that otherwise, he shouldn't blame his student for not caring about the feelings between mentor and student. A red trickle trails from the boy's lips, and memories of how he spent time with a student are etched into his memory. This is what motivates him to take action. With a confident movement, he splits the gift of jewelry on his chest. The veins on his body are bulging. I am, and my eyes light up with rage. He tells her not to dream about it, and then Luo Wuji gets to his feet, releasing his power. This repels the girl, who falls to the 5th point in surprise. To herself, a representative of the fair sex notices that her affairs are bad, because even if the mentor is seriously injured, but he still has unsurpassed strength. Suddenly, a purple ball appears in the sky. Several rays of energy fly out of it, which are directed to the blonde. The guy does not have time to do anything, because the attack was from the back. The attack catches up with him, causing blood to come out of his mouth again. The hero still does not fall to the ground, remaining on his knees only thanks to his sword. He's panting and coughing, trying to get his bearings. A voice from behind asks him not to fight so hard. Luo Wuji looks around, noticing 2 male figures behind him. He's obviously familiar with them, so he's a little surprised that they would also betray him for the sake of the heavenly cannon. One of the unknown notes that under such circumstances, the hero does not need to persist in the desire to die. It is better to pass on the heavenly cannon with dignity, and they still remember the feelings of the old days, so they will leave the corpse undivided. The second one claims that they and his female students will take good care of him, so he doesn't have to worry. Luo Wuji coughs up blood and clutches at his heart. His whole body is shaking, but he tries to get to his feet. The student scoffs at the mentor's attempts to get up. She thinks he's going to get down on his knees and beg for her forgiveness. Seeing that her words did not hurt her mentor in the least, the girl draws her sword, declaring that she is not as merciful as he is. She points the weapon towards the hero, releasing her aura and saying that since he doesn't agree to hand over the heavenly cannon, then all she has to do is slice off his flesh bit by bit and search for him on her own. A grin appears on Luo Wuji's face. Energy flows are directed towards it, starting to close it in the likeness of a red ball. This puts traders in a stupor. The guys jump out of their seats, realizing that this is some kind of secret technique to protect the heavenly cannon. They rush to suppress the hero's power, feeling that the situation is getting worse by the second. Luo Wuji notices that since the disciple is so eager to receive the heavenly cannon, she will have to take it from the underworld. With that, he folds a one-handed seal. The girl also realizes that it's bad. A representative of the fair sex shouts that the mentor wants to self-destruct, but it's too late. No one present has time to react to the explosion, which destroys the entire environment within a radius of several hundred kilometers, and a powerful beam of energy rushes into space. From Earth, you can clearly see a bright flash somewhere behind Jupiter, but it is not clear what this phenomenon is. The hero opens his eyes. Everything is floating in front of him. He hears a voice that appeals to all passengers, asking them not to forget their belongings. The same voice says that the next station is Tongzhou City. After blinking a few times, the guy comes to his senses. He looks down at his left hand, realizing that he is not dead at all, but reborn. He looks out the window, marveling at the endless sea. Chapter 1-2. Inwardly, he notes that the inner cultivation has completely dissipated, but the heavenly cannon has been preserved. He realizes that these are not hallucinations. Luo Wuji admits that he did not expect to be able to return to Earth again, and even at the age of 20. The hero quickly understands what he needs to do next. All he has to do is restore his internal organs, lay a solid foundation, and find some amazing magic seeds hidden in different parts of the world, and then there will be no one in the whole world who can compare with him. Luo Wuji reminisces about his students, noting that he is very much looking forward to their meeting. Then something starts vibrating, distracting him from his thoughts. The brunette pulls out his phone, which is being called by an unknown number. He picks up the phone. He gets a call from a girl named Zhang Xiaoman. The girl says that she took the phone of her Amma because it's discharged. She calls the guy by his first name. His name is now Luo Chen. It is clear that the girl's mother is dissatisfied with this behavior of her daughter. The woman coughs nervously into her fist, as if hinting to her daughter that the conversation needs to end. The girl also informs the hero that he should write a message when he will drive up, so that his mother and she come to the station and pick him up. After that, Luo Chen hangs up the phone. He remembers the girl's name, noting that he still has a score to settle with her. A grin appears on his face, and to avoid attracting the attention of the other passengers, he coughs into his fist. This action attracts the attention of a girl from the next row. She storms off, loudly asking him what he means. The dark-haired man inquiringly he looks at her, not understanding what she's talking about. Then the representative of the fair sex, folding her hands on her chest, declares that the guy is a real rude and that he should not pretend because she saw how he stared at their picture and then grinned. The girl's neighbor is a man with gray hair and a neat beard and mustache. He wears a black robe and looks a bit like a priest. The interlocutor continues to stand on her own. She wants to know what the guy understands, since he dares to grin. The girl hurries to explain that this is a rare piece of painting and calligraphy of the highest quality. Level up, so it's unlikely he's seen anything like this. The man asks his companion not to be so rude. He calls her by her first name. Her name is Schuinger. A representative of the fair sex bites her tongue, drilling a hole in the guy with her eyes. She waits for an answer, even though she's seething with anger. Then the old man decides to clarify the opinion of the brunette about this picture. Luo Chen makes a mental note that this girl seems to have a delusion of persecution. The hero exhales heavily, claiming that this is a fake. This makes Shaner will get even angrier. The old man gets up from his seat, noting that you can eat anything, but you can't say anything at all. He explains that the authenticity of this scroll has been established by several great professionals in this field. These words only cause a grin from the hero, who declares that if he says that this is a fake, then it must be true. The girl nods even harder in anger. She doesn't know who the guy thinks he is if he thinks everything he's said is absolutely true. She attacks the hero in anger, trying to throw a punch, but the attack does not catch up with Luo Chen. An invisible yellow barrier stops the opponent's fist even before it reaches the hero. This confuses the fairer sex, and the old man notices to himself that the inner strength has manifested itself from the outside. The white-haired man steps forward, asking for Schuinger stop quickly. These actions make the girl think. The man bows his head, asking for forgiveness for showing his bad manners. He notes that a high-ranking person forgives the mistakes of people below him, so the guy should not attach importance to what happened. This puts the girl in a stupor, who does not understand why her grandfather apologizes to him. The old man understands that a person who can outwardly show inner strength among warriors, he is at least a great master. He also realizes that if this man harbored a desire to kill, he would kill both him and his granddaughter in an instant. An old man hits his granddaughter on the head, forcing her to bowing her head and saying that it was enough idle chatter and she should quickly apologize to the master. Luo Chen notices in his mind that this elderly gentleman is quite interesting. Shuinger apologizes. The guy accepts them, noticing that in the future this will not happen. Tears welled up in the girl's eyes. She is outraged by what is happening, because from her birth to this moment, no one could force her grandfather to show such respect. Her discontent makes her wonder who this scoundrel is. The old man thanks the master for showing leniency. After that, he carefully asks for the guy's name. Hero P. Red is represented by the name Luo Chen. The gray-haired man is in no hurry to fall behind. He hands the scroll to the hero, apologizing in advance for the rudeness and asking him to provide proof that this drawing is a fake. The dark-haired man takes the scroll, unfolds it, declaring that he will now prove everything to them. Luo Chen puts his hand on the scroll, after which the last one is torn apart. This causes confusion in the granddaughter and grandfather. They watch in surprise as the guy catches a few pieces of paper and puts them on the table. The old man hurries to find out what it is. The brunette also asks the interlocutors what is the difference between these three ink signs. The granddaughter and grandfather bend over them, beginning to study them carefully. After a few moments, the older man claims that there is no difference between these three signs, so he asks Mr. Luo to explain them in more detail. Luo Chen explains that there are two ink strokes, one of which has been overlapped by others, but the man can see that the ink mark is still the same, so he specifies what kind of drawing it is. Grandpa understands that this is a high-precision inkjet printer. The man was fooled. He gives the scroll to his bodyguard, asking him to take it away. Privately, he notices that this kind of high-precision seal, if it wasn't torn apart and placed in front of his eyes, even the best experts wouldn't be able to notice it. The old man understands that Mr. Luo was able to see this seal at a glance and provided proof. This only shows that he is definitely not an ordinary master. Luo Chen intercepts one of the bodyguards who is carrying a wooden box. The old man immediately understands that the guy liked this box. Grandpa is so ready to stand out in the eyes of the interlocutor that he is going to give the contents of the box to him just like that. This is a little surprising to the hero, who notes to himself that the interlocutor most likely does not know that inside this wooden box there is an object that can improve the quality of magic seeds. Luo Chen understands that the old man should clearly know that this thing is one of a kind. The guy quickly comes to the conclusion that the other person wants to get his favor. The brunette admits that inside this wooden box is an object that he needs, but he is not a person who likes to stay in debt, so he is ready to perform any service of the old man. The older man decides to be blunt. He pushes his daughter forward, asking Mr. Luo to take her as a disciple. The girl is at a loss. She doesn't understand why Grandpa does this, because she doesn't want to become his disciple. The guy also remembers the image of his student, looking at this representative of the fair sex. Luo Chen releases his sinister aura. He does not want to repeat his mistakes at all, so he asks the interlocutor to choose someone else, because if it is her, then he will not be able to fulfill his request. The older man immediately recalls the words of the brunette that he just promised him. The hero's words turn against him, falling on his head. Luo Chen wonders if it's possible for him, a reborn saint, to return his promise. Deciding not to take any chances, he decides to get out of the situation differently. It puts a condition that they should never refer to it as master, enough she will call him teacher. The old man slaps his granddaughter on the back, demanding that she quickly pay her respects to her teacher. A member of the fair sex seethes with rage, but still pays tribute to the teacher. Luo Chen realizes that he is just digging a grave for himself. The voice alerts all train passengers that they have arrived at Tongju Station. The hero gets off the train, and the old man waves him goodbye, asking him to stay in touch. This irritates my granddaughter. Shuinger speaks loudly to her grandfather, who abruptly grabs her wrist, saying that he has already told her many times that a girl should not behave like this in public. The girl is in a hurry to find out why her grandfather behaved like this. She doesn't understand why he suggested it. He accepted her as a disciple of the guy, because before that, there are countless masters who did not stop begging him to become their disciple, but he refused them all. An elderly man gently hits his granddaughter on the head, calling her a stupid child who did not understand anything. He explains that they are now establishing ties. Then the gray-haired man becomes serious. He stresses that he will not blame her for anything, because it is normal that she does not understand some things yet. The old man decides to ask if the girl remembers the Lin Hulong he was talking about earlier. Xiunger asks if we are talking about the same person who was listed on the Tianlong list and called a mad beast. The interlocutor confirms that it is about him. This person was the one who, on the battlefield abroad, single-handedly destroyed the entire group of the enemy's armed forces, which included hundreds of people. Since then, he has become very famous as a great martial artist. The girl decides to ask if she understood her grandfather correctly, that this scoundrel may become as famous a figure as Lin Huolong in the future. An old man beats his granddaughter for instructive purposes, noting that she should not speak so much about her teacher. It turns out that he was trying to convey to her the idea that Mr. Luo's strength already surpasses Lin Huolong's. These words make a representative of the fair sex swallow nervously. Grandpa asks her to make sure that she doesn't make any more mistakes by winning his favor during his stay in Tongzhou. Meanwhile, Zhang Xiaomin is waiting with the hero's mother. The mother is annoyed that they are already waiting for about 5 minutes. She notes that she recently underwent a course of treatment, so she should not sunbathe again. The girl says that the guy will come soon, so there is no need to be nervous. A dark-haired man walks along a crowded Tongzhou street. Unpleasant memories of being beaten up in this city come back to him. He was lying on the asphalt, asking for help, and unknown people kicked him. Their leader also said that an apple doesn't fall far from an apple tree, but compared to him, it was much more fun to play with his father until his death. These unpleasant memories make the guy's heart beat faster. He involuntarily clenches his fingers into fists, trying to come to his senses. The hero finally finds Zhao Xiaomin and her mother. The girl quietly asks to greet her mother first, but the guy ignores this. The woman is dissatisfied with what is happening. She is mentally amazed that such a poor man would want to become her son-in-law. She does not understand what her daughter sees in him, because in appearance and qualifications, the son of the Chen family with Tor is much better than him. Luo Chen finally greets the woman, who pointedly turns away, saying that the young people of their time really have no manners. After all, she was patiently waiting for him, burning under the sun, and he didn't even bother to greet her senior in the first place. The daughter grabs the woman's hand, trying to understand why she is acting like this, but the woman only asks her to get in the car quickly so that they can go home. Sitting in the car, the fairer woman gets the impression that Luo Chen has changed a lot. A conversation ensues between the daughter and the mother. The woman pays attention to beautiful houses by the sea, noting that she wants to enjoy a quiet life, but she will not demand much from her daughter, so it will be enough for her to buy a townhouse. She dreams about it. The girl also understands that the cost of 1 square meter there for 70,000 yuan. The woman draws attention to the fact that this is really a large amount, but the daughter should not worry about this, because it will be taken on her shoulders by a young man in whom she believes. She emphasizes that if they take the townhouse on a mortgage, then the girl should not tell anyone that she is her daughter. These words hurt Zhao Xiaomin a lot. Her phone beeps. She takes it and reads a message from a dark-haired man who refuses to do anything like that. After a while, the trio gets home. The girl immediately informs her father that Luo Chen has returned. The man comes out to the guy and greets him, noting that he has become taller. The brunette is also happy to meet, although he does not show it, but the woman does not let them talk. She demands to stop talking in vain. The woman urges her husband to hurry up and cook something, because he is like a woman in this apron all day. The man doesn't know what to say to that, and Luo Chen puts a hand on his back, pushing him forward and telling him that he will help. While the man starts cooking, the woman decides to scold my daughter. She encourages Xiaomin to raise her standards for the opposite sex. She demands it because she believes that she herself has married a man who is good for nothing. The woman draws a parallel with Luo Chen, who, as soon as he returned, immediately went to the kitchen. It seems to her that he will be just as useless as her father. It hurts a little, but she's used to it. In addition, she is saved from answering the doorbell. Xiaomin goes to open the door, wondering who could have come at such a time. The guest turns out to be a young man in formal clothes and black glasses. He is happy that he found Xiaomin at home. The unknown person immediately asks why she did not answer the phone. It looks like a formal question, but then he says he's got a date at the movie theater, so they can go now. Xiaomin is shocked that this person showed up at such an inopportune moment. The girl tries to nervously close the door and gently kick the guy out, saying that she will have to refuse his offer because she is very busy today. The guest gets stuck in the doorway, asking to wait 1 minute. My mother intervenes in the case, who opens the door for little Chen. She is amazed that he has come, so she immediately asks what brings him here, and immediately after that, she suggests that he go inside so as not to stand on the threshold. Xiaomin tries to do something to stop her mother, whispering in her ear that they already have Luo Chen at home. Little Chen hands the gift to the woman. This is a perfume set that a friend brought him from France. The guy is always ready to bring such sets if she likes it. My mother claims that she likes it, although she is ready to accept anything if it is from him. Abruptly, little Chen's gaze becomes irritable. The two guys lock eyes. Luo Chen is completely calm, but the guest is very annoyed by the arrival of another guy next to the girl. The latter nervously asks who is standing in front of him. In his mind's eye, he's struck by the guy's strong aura. The mother claims that this is a friend of Sai-Amon's from college. According to her, their fathers are friends, and the hero himself came to Tongju from the village to find a job. Little Chen exhales calmly, starting to think of the guy as an ordinary unemployed loser. He holds out his hand, wanting to meet him, but the hero looks back at Uncle Zhang, who asked him for help. Luo Chen immediately says that she'll help him now. Even Sai-Aman resents this kind of ignoring of the guest, so she hints to the guy that they are actually talking to him. Little Chen is shaking with suppressed anger, because he knows very well that he is being forced to lose face in front of everyone. The hero goes to help the man without speaking to the guest. Then the rich man notices an important detail that if he wants to succeed in Tongju, then he should start by finding friends so they can help each other. Noticing that the other person has stopped, he corrects his words, saying that even though Tongju City is quite large, he will help him if he suddenly has any problems. All of this Little Chen says with a carefree smile to get his face back in front of the others. Luo Chen notes that this is his promise. The guy understands that he was outplayed, so he turns to the girl. He believes that the hero should get a job in his company, because currently things are going well, although they just do not have enough employees. Sai-Aman doesn't know what's on. This is the reason why my mother intervenes in the conversation. She is amazed that the guy has already started a company at such a young age, and still works as a teacher at an elite school while taking care of her daughter in every possible way. The woman then turns to Luo Chen, saying that he has a lot to learn from Little Chen. A grin appears on the hero's face at these words. Energy passes through his hand without anyone noticing. Everyone sits down at the table, but the girl notices the strange behavior of her boyfriend, who goes somewhere. Luo Chen hides in the room while the rich man grins, thinking that the trash left so quickly because he couldn't keep his face anymore. At this time, a strange scarlet energy passes through the guy's collar, which the hero released before. Chapter 1-6. The hero goes outside. He takes out a cigarette and lights it with a lighter. Sai-Aman goes after him. What she's trying to say is that this is all a misunderstanding and that she and Chen Kao are just good friends. The guy only gives a short answer of consent. There's a look of indifference on his face that strikes her as odd. She notices in her mind that Luo Chen doesn't usually talk to her like this. A representative of the fair sex decides to lay out the whole situation on him. She emphasizes that she perfectly understands the sincerity of her boyfriend's feelings. But in their world this is not enough. It turns out that Chen's father Kao is a deputy chief executive of Tongju, who is also a major shareholder in the listed company. Sai-Aman admits that he doesn't expect the same heights from the other person, but he should be able to at least buy a house in Tongju so that they can have a place to stay with the whole family. A representative of the fair sex abruptly snuggles up to the hero's hand. It turns out that she was encouraged by her mother, who told her that if Luo Chen sold his father's factory for $300,000, he would have enough money for a mortgage loan for the house. Looking at the girl, Luo Chen remembers what will happen in this scenario. He had signed a commercial lease agreement with Zhang Sai-Aman. He was so in love with her that he was willing to do something like that back then. But when he got home, he found his girlfriend with Little Chen. He was severely beaten, and then he realized that the girl had deceived him, and he was a fool who had spent all the money that his father had saved all his life. Sai-Aman's voice snaps him out of his memories. The girl invites the interlocutor to discuss this event with his father. The brunette also notices that they have nowhere to hurry, so he thinks that they should wait a little longer. With that, he pulls his hand out of the girl's grasp. Meanwhile, the girl's mother is very angry that Luo Chen has no manners because he ran away before eating, and her daughter followed him. Little Chen tries to calm the woman down. He invites her to look at his gift so that she can smell the perfume. He gives her his word that she will definitely like them. His mother immediately begins to praise him, considering him kind, generous, and with a very meticulous way of thinking. She also scolds Luo Chen's gift for only giving her 2 tea bags. The rich man only agrees to this, calling the hero a very stingy person since he gave only some 2 bags. Then something dawns on Little Chen. His stomach starts to rumble sharply. The woman had already taken out a bottle of perfume. Noting that she had never used a high-end perfume in her life, she points out that if her friends saw them, they would probably die of envy. The guy is twisting so hard that he can't hold back anymore. Mom inhales the perfume, wanting to savor it, but instead he can smell the stink of Little Chen's fart. The woman vomits right on the floor, then loses consciousness. Sai-Aman notices strange noises coming from the next room. She assumes that something must have happened, because they were walking out of the kitchen. The door opens and a rich man enters the room, who reeks of a terrible stench. The girl covers her mouth and nose with her hands. She doesn't understand what that awful smell is or why it stinks so much, but she hurries to leave. Leave the room, because I'm ready to empty right now. The hero also asks with a grin how the victim's own smell is, because even a rotten egg stinks less than it does now. Little Chen realizes that it's all the fault of his rival in Xiamen heart. He wants to say something, but his whole body is shaking. He somehow restrains the urges of his body. The rich man begins to go to the hero, but the latter forces the pebble to come out of the asphalt, which is why the victim falls to the floor, starting to vomit. Little Chen gets the impression that someone has cursed him. Realizing that in the current state he gets nowhere, the rich man flees from the place of his shame, and Luo Chen only notes that this is a small percentage of what the guy owes him. After a while, the hero is going to leave the house to go to the hotel. Xiamen wants to give him a ride to the hotel, since it's only his first day here, and they can also discuss buying a house on the way. Her mother spoils everything. She is still in a bad way, so she encourages her daughter to take care of her, because she is in a terrible state. The girl tries to stop this conversation, but the brunette only finds an excuse under which he can go himself. She wants to object, but she doesn't have any arguments. Outside, Luo Chen receives a message. A student writes to him and wants to know where he is now. She also informs him that his grandfather has already booked a hotel for him, and she will pick him up right now. Chapter 1-7. The hero walks through the crowded streets of the city at night. He is stopped by a man smoking a cigarette. He immediately notices that the guy is a stranger, so he offers to drop him off. Luo Chen says that he is not interested, but the man stands his ground, noting that it is difficult to find a taxi at such a time, and his original fare is 20, almost like a taxi driver. As he does so, he puts a friendly hand on the brunette's shoulder. The hero throws off the taxi driver's hand from his shoulder, repeating his refusal in a more rude form. The man spits on the asphalt, calling Luo Chen a beggar. Then an expensive car pulls up to him, in which a beautiful girl is sitting. This is Shuinger. He apologizes for being late. The hero says it's okay and just gets in the car. The taxi driver begins to seethe with anger, calling the boy a show-off. The girl clarifies whether to teach that person a lesson, but the brunette assures that this is not necessary, because he has more serious problems, so they do not need to interfere. The taxi driver lights another cigarette, swearing at the fucking rich. At that moment, a hand falls on his back. A beautiful girl with pink hair and purple eyes can make any man fall in love with her. She wants a taxi driver to give her a ride. He agrees nervously, drooling. Shuinger, on the other hand, looks closely at the driver, not understanding who he is talking to, because there is definitely no one next to him. The hero also reports that the man will soon die. This causes a stupor in the student. At the same time, a taxi driver goes to Panlong Bay under the guidance of a girl who changes her face. Luo Chen says that this is a big world and there are many things in it that are difficult for an ordinary person to understand. But one day, she will be able to see them for herself. Shuinger listens carefully and doesn't interrupt the teacher. After a while, they find themselves at the Tongju Grand Hotel. The hero appears on the couch in the lobby. The girl puts on the table a key card from the presidential suite with a 1-month rental period, as well as keys and a contract for the car they arrived in. She happily asks the teacher to take a look at it. Luo Chen picks up the documents and starts studying them. One of them is a pledge of shares, so he immediately specifies whether they want to give him the company. The girl says that the Yi family has a lot of property in Tongju. Although this company is not big, but its profit is excellent. Her grandfather said it was her tuition fee, so the guy shouldn't say no. Luo Chen reads the document on Tongju Media carefully. He remembers that Zhang Xiamen works for this company. The brunette realizes that the Yi family has prepared well before giving him gifts. Realizing that this is a good opportunity, the hero decides to accept this gift. Shuinger is happy that she managed to please the teacher. After that, he doesn't want to interfere with his master's rest anymore. She runs away, saying that if he needs anything, he can call at any time. Luo Chen goes in search of his phone number. After a while, he comes to number 7007. Voices are coming from inside and the girl asks Director Wang to stop because she can't do it. The hero puts the key card to the door, intending to enter. Inside, a plump man is unbuckling his belt. He claims that no one has it forcing him, because he's slept with more than 10 others like her, so she shouldn't be making a circus out of it. A beautiful girl with blue eyes and long hair of this color tries to say that the termination of contracts with all groups will not lead to anything good, but the interlocutor does not care. Then the representative of the fair sex with tears in her eyes says that under no circumstances will she obey him. Then the man admits that he really underestimated the girl's pride. He's only asking for your company today as a sign of respect. The man notices that there is a huge queue of people waiting to meet him. But before he can finish speaking, the door opens and Luo Chen walks in. Chapter 1-8. Director Wang immediately lashes out rudely at the intruder with questions. He doesn't believe that anyone would dare to ruin his good mood. He zips up his fly and pretentiously looks into the boy's eyes, wanting to know who he is and who let him in here. The brunette calmly passes by, sits down in a chair and takes out a cigarette. The man is amazed by the boy's courage. He doesn't try to figure out what's going on, just hints that he's a big shot. Director Wang gives the hero one last chance to leave, otherwise his people will cripple him and throw him in the trash. The girl assumes that the guy is deaf, so in sign language asks him to run faster. Luo Chen brazenly lights a cigarette, blowing smoke right in the face of the enraged rich man. A representative of the fair sex is perplexed by what is happening. The man becomes enraged. He believes that the boy really wants to die, so he is ready to help him in this. Director Wang grabs the bottle by the neck, intending to stab the guest. The girl intervenes. She grabs the boss's arm, forcing him to let go of the bottle, which shatters on the floor. She's begging the guy to get out of here faster. The man throws the beauty away from him. She hits her head on the nightstand and loses consciousness. At the same time, he calls her a nasty creature. The hero abruptly finds himself in front of a rich man. He lifts it off the floor with one hand, holding it only by the front of his shirt. Director Wang nervously demands that he let him go. Otherwise he will be crippled for the rest of his life. This doesn't affect Luo Chen in the slightest. It releases its sinister aura, causing the man to shake in fear. The man understands that the case smells fried, so he continues to threaten the guy, saying that if he dares to do anything to him, he will be dead tomorrow. This doesn't stop the hero, who burns Director Wang's body with his power in the next instant, noting that tomorrow will never come for him. In Luo Chen's mind, he notes that fortunately, he can control his power, otherwise the entire room would be burned to the ground. The brunette pays attention to the unconscious girl, realizing that all this is very troublesome. The girl wakes up in the bathroom with her clothes on. The hero at this time smokes at the door. A representative of the fair sex sharply shouts from a lack of understanding of the situation, and the guy demands that she be silent. When she hears the guy's voice and sees him, she immediately tries to figure out what he's doing here and what's wrong with Wang Fu. The brunette says that this does not concern her, so when the drug ends, she will immediately leave this place. This causes even more bewilderment in the interlocutor because she does not know. See, what kind of drug we are talking about. Luo Chen says that she is under the influence of a certain drug, the effect of which will disappear in about 15 minutes. This causes the girl to start shaking with fear. Noticing the strange reaction of the interlocutor, the hero notes that he will not repeat it twice. The girl burns with shame, mentally horrified by this attitude to herself. Chapter 1-9. The girl comes out of the shower, covering her body only with a towel. She looks at the chair where her rescuer is sitting. It's hard for her to believe that this guy could handle Wang Fu, since he looks like an ordinary student. She wonders what methods he used. Luo Chen also reports that the girl's time is up. She remembers what he said about the drug, and then she notices that it was so good in the shower that she completely forgot about it. She says it's late and her clothes are in tatters. A representative of the fair sex thinks that he is not, so he was too cruel to send her away. And in general, when you see such a beautiful girl like her, basically everyone starts shouting and jumping for joy. Then she realizes that she wants to stay here, but the fear that the guy will start harassing her stops her. The girl turns her head nervously in different directions, trying to push such thoughts away. She comes to the conclusion that she needs to find clothes immediately, so she wants to borrow the guy's phone to call her assistant. The hero also wants the girl to lock herself in another room before that, so that they do not interfere with each other. This behavior causes her confusion. The hero throws her his phone, emphasizing that he does not like to tell her twice. The girl is surprised that the other person didn't even look at her. She realizes that he has an amazing character, as well as a strength of spirit that is very difficult to resist. She thinks that it is innate, because this aura is not inferior to the aura of great figures. A representative of the fair sex dials the number of the assistant, wanting to call him right in front of the guy, but he asks her not to disturb him. She notices this ugly attitude, and then goes into the next room, saying good night. In Luo Chen's hands, a new image appears, a wooden box that he received as a gift on the train. When he opens it, he only notices that there was indeed a seed hidden in it. The dark-haired man realizes that because of Emperor Jin's response, he can't miss this opportunity today. These seeds are the imprints of souls left after the end of the last era. They are very rare. For some people, even the lowest quality goods are enough to awaken the divine spirit. What can we say about this seed, which has supernatural powers? If it can be refined, it will not only be possible to awaken the divine spirit, but also to obtain the eye of heaven. Currently, he has completely lost his cultivation, so he can rely on the remnants of Emperor Wukezhen's strength, so he can use the power of a martial artist. But it won't last forever, because there will come a day when his strength will run out. Chapter 1-9. If the hero wants to restore his cultivation, then he needs to reawaken a magic seed, like coal sent in during a snowfall. The only thing that causes Luo Chen's only pity is his safety. The guy understands that at the moment there is no need. Use it. Then the brunette's thoughts are interrupted by a knock from the next room. The girl looks out from behind the door, apologizing that her assistant wouldn't be able to move in. She wants to switch places, claiming that sleeping outside is a bit scary. She is willing to double the amount paid for the service. The room, although in reality she can't be calm in the second bedroom, because Wang Fu can send assassins to her, and so it turns out that to get to the main bedroom, Wang Fu will have to go through the second one, so if you switch places, it will have a safety net. Luo Chen clarifies whether this is her wish or not, and then notices that she has everything written on her face. A representative of the fair sex turns away, realizing that she was found out. She coughs in the fist pumping, calling the guy to account. The brunette gives a firm and decisive refusal, which beats right on the girl's heart. She exhales, not believing that her beauty isn't enough to make her feel better. Seduce a teenager like him. The blue-haired girl is sure that none of the guys of his age will not resist it. She throws the towel aside and crawls across the bed towards the hero, stating that maybe she won't be able to sleep tonight. At the same time, she is in a very luxurious dress, accentuating her charms. Chapter 1-10. The girl runs her fingers over the guy's chest, stating that if he does not agree to go to the second, then all she has to do is sleep with him. The hero is because of such defiant. He reacts like a teenager. The seductress notices that the guy, even if creates the impression of being indifferent to everything, is still that of a timid student. Luo Chen realizes that the mortal shell brings him extra trouble, because of which he is not yet able to control some emotions. Seeing that the brunette is ripe for an answer, a representative of the fair sex, she grins, knowing that if he wants to refuse her request, he'll have to leave. Guy nervously asks if the other person is afraid that he might do something to her. Such a reaction, the girl likes it, so she confidently declares that she is not afraid. Inside, she realizes that this situation will be very strange, especially if, by pure chance, people find out about the current situation. It's hard for her to imagine what the consequences will be. Her name is Lambert, and she is a superstar. A representative of the fair sex also notices to herself that if you didn't take into account his absolute equanimity, he didn't even take advantage of it. The moment when she was unconscious, but she's still not entirely sure. Luo Chen is finally here, gives a positive answer. He gets up from the bed, and the superstar starts cheering, thinking that he will go to the other bedroom, so she thanks him. The hero goes to the next bedroom, and then returns a minute later to the main bedroom. Fallow dear. Bear looks back at him blankly, and the dark-haired man has brought her a hairdryer, demanding that I dried my hair and didn't wet the bed. The girl blushes as she accepts the gift. She thought to herself, I'm amazed at how attentive he is. As she flies around in her thoughts, Luo Chen climbs under blankets, declaring that he was sleeping, and that she would not disturb him. After a while, the superstar and go to bed yourself. She wakes up at 3 in the morning, not understanding why things have turned out this way. Exactly. The girl clearly did not want such a result, so she is very nervous and twitches in the dark beds. The hero wakes up only in the morning. He takes a sitting position, noting that his head is splitting. Luo Chen looks around, looking around, noting that after a bad dream, he simply has unbearable sensations. He's not. He finds the girl next to him, but notices several business cards left under the pillow. The hero picks them up and reads the contents. Lambert asks for forgiveness because she has on her hands only 800 in cash. This may not be enough for the room fee, but it will be enough for the initial payment. After the final payment, the balance will be forwarded to him. She left her contact number on the business cards. This girl arouses some interest in the hero. He gets out of bed and gets dressed, then takes the documents for the Tongju Media Company. The guy decides to go there first today. Luo Chen is sitting at the table. A young man brings the documents to him. He says that's all. Transfer documents to the company, so you just need to put the last signature. Hero. It does this immediately and returns the documents to the subordinate. At this point, the phone starts ringing. It's Xiaomin, who is in a hurry to find out if he's up. The guy gives a positive response and then clarifies what is the matter. The student asks where he is, because already it was almost 9 o'clock and there is no way he could be late. It turns out that she recommended it. Send your resume to their company, and if something goes wrong, it will be them who will be in an awkward position. The brunette says he'll be there in 10 minutes. Then a representative of the fair sex asks him to call first when he comes up, and not to come right in. Xiaomin approaches from behind. Colleague. She pokes her in the shoulder, then asks if her boyfriend will come to them today for an interview. The student gives a positive answer by hanging up the phone. Interviewee. A little surprised, because the person who took a fancy to their Xiaomin should at least to have personal property worth 10 million, so she clarifies why it is necessary. Gets a job in their company. Another girl intervenes in the conversation, who is clearly, I'm more knowledgeable than my colleague. She says it's about $10 million. He's a poor boy from a county town who used to study at the University of St. Petersburg. Go to university with them. Then the first girl doesn't understand how Xiaomin is with such beautiful external data could choose such a person. The girls start a conversation next to Xiaomin. One of them notices that she has already recommended it for a long time, a friend to break up, because she is from completely different social circles. The other one says that during the university, the difference in their status was not so much affected, but now it is. It's getting bigger and bigger. At this point, the hero enters the room. He greets a girl. The other one jumps up, not understanding why he just walked in. One of my colleagues clarifies whether the person in front of them is a young man named Zhang Xiaomin. The hero gives a calm positive response. The girl looks down on Luo Chen, noticing to herself that he's very shabbily dressed. This convinces her that Xingxin's words about poverty were true. The latter also suggests that the hero brazenly relies on Xiaomin's help and connections to find out. Then she asks if she's sure it's right for her. Luo Chen notices that this is personal business and it has nothing to do with them. These words infuriate Xingxin. She sees it as an affectation, coolness that is not backed up by anything, so it focuses on the fact that if not Xiaomin, even if he came to work as a toilet cleaner, Tongju Media Company, I wouldn't have hired him. Another person intervenes in the conversation. It turns out to be the director. The company. The girls bow their heads, and Xingxin runs up to him, wondering what he did yesterday. The man says he was at the car dealership to make an advance on what she asked for from him. The result of this was the purchase of a car worth more than $1 million without any restrictions. Preferential terms. He hands her the keys to a brand new car. Everyone is happy for her friend, but Xiaomin is darker than a cloud. She feels bad about what happened. Director decides to throw a party in a big company. He wants the entire department to be there. Here it is. Notices the hero standing quietly behind Xiaomin. Xingxin speaks quickly and briefly about the guy. After that, the man introduces himself. He is Zhang's sales manager. Hi. He was in the HR department, and from now on, he works in their department. He calls the guy boldly. Contact them if you don't understand something. Luo Chen gives a short answer. A man doesn't. He understands how such a poor man could attract the attention of the beautiful Zhang Xiaomin. He decides, teach him a lesson. The manager notices that even though he is only working for their company for the first day, he is still working for them. Still, I have prepared one task for him that will allow him to get acquainted with their profession. He has one big client, and their company wants to find the person responsible for creating it. A favorable image. Prior to that, she had negotiated with them about several artists, but that was all. They were not successful. Let's hope the new guy can sort this out. Oh, those present are seriously tense because of this. Everyone had problems because of this. A large client, because they have a lot of complaints, and they really like to complain. Considering business, the brunette understands that the price offered by the client is very high, and it would be convenient for him. Get some cash. The guy decides to take this job. Chapter 1-12. The girls in the company who have turned on Luo Chen know that he is still a naive fool. After all, this client has already issued an ultimatum for a long time. If he is dissatisfied with this project, then cancels your order. The headmaster says he likes guys as brave as he is. Man gives him until noon to find a celebrity and provide the client with a project. However, if this project is not signed, the losses will be deducted from his salary. The hero understands why to wait until noon, because he can find the right person right now. The words cause first bewilderment in all those present, and then wild laughter because they think it's a stupid joke. The manager thinks that the guy drank too much yesterday, because he should find a celebrity, not some redneck. He begins to drift, because the man believes that the new employee doesn't even know what the celebrity looks like. One of the girls thinks that he has problems with the head, and another admits that she thought at the university he was just a beggar and not stupid. Girls think that a guy wants to show off in front of his beloved at any cost. Xiaomin is shaking with anger because her boyfriend has put her in an awkward position. Though, Chen calls her friend, saying that he needs her help. He's ready to go to her. The address for her to drive up right now. The girl menacingly asks the hero to stop all this because she is burning with shame. She walks away from the door in anger. The man is exultant, saying that they will wait for the celebrity who called Luo Chen, and then they'll get together again. Director Zhang goes down to the entrance of the building. The guard notices that he is very happy, so he becomes interested in the reason for this behavior of his superiors. The same person tells the subordinate all the stupidity of the situation that just happened. It counts the new kid to the feeble-minded. The guard laughs at this, supporting the opinion that the guy has trouble with his head since he brags so much, although unlike the boss, the guard doesn't. Discards the option that the new guy didn't lie. He understands that there are too many people in society. Different people, so this may be true. The director also notes that if the boy if there were such connections, then it would not make sense for him to come to them and work as a farmhand. And if the guy is still, if you bring a superstar, he'll stand on his hands and eat shit. An A1234 car pulls up to the barrier. It has a temporary license plate, and the driver asks for permission to enter. The guard approaches the door to check who the car arrived at. The girl takes off her glasses, and everyone recognizes Lambert. She wants tell her that she's with that boy, but quickly realizes that she doesn't know his name. Director Cheng is shocked by what is happening. At the same time, Xiaomin starts a conversation with the hero. She's trying to figure out what it all means. The girl thinks that the guy specifically wants to embarrass her. Luo Chen elaborates on what he is doing to shame her. Then the representative of the fair sex declares that he'd really disappointed her. She thinks that she knows the guy well, so he just has a lot of fun. There can be no such connections to sign a contract with a star. Xiaomin, like everyone else, believes that her boyfriend says such inappropriate things for the sake of his coolness. Then the hero decides to clarify why the girl did nothing when the guy surnamed Zhang. I dug a hole for him. This only infuriates the interlocutor more. Meanwhile, down below, security guard tries to contain the flow of superstar fans who want to get an autograph from your idol or take a picture. The manager still can't believe his eyes, because reality and the words of the subordinate do not converge at all. Xingxin also notices that the superstar, he doesn't even know the name of the person he's looking for, so it doesn't have to be Luo Chen. Let's hope it's just a coincidence. To the office where Xiaomin is trying to tell you off. Her boyfriend, Lambert, enters. The girls make eye contact, and then the superstar notices the hero. Xiaomin recognizes the girl as Lambert. She is in shock from what is happening, not understanding how this is possible. The brunette asks the guest to sit down. He suggests that she look up the requirements of the client, and if it all triples, then tell him the price. The superstar is a little surprised by this. She thought that the other person was just looking for a reason to meet. Or maybe he really called her by her first name. Business. A representative of the fair sex sits down in a chair, noticing that since yesterday, but Wang Fu never looked for her. She assumes that the hero has connections at the top, because otherwise, given Wang Fu's vindictive nature, there was no way he would let it go. The girl confesses that I wished I'd asked for his number this morning. She also understands that once they have business connections, then she doesn't have to worry about getting close to him anymore. Dark hair clarifies how she arrived so quickly. The superstar says that when he called her, she was just, I was not far away, so you can say that this is a kind of fate. Xiaomin watching over, but this conversation, trying to figure out how the two met. It suggests that they can, being from the same city, but she quickly dismisses the idea because it sounds like something out of place. Unrealistic. Lambert suddenly turns to Xiaomin. She asks her to close the door because that it's too noisy outside. Indeed, there is a crowd of fans at the door who are eager to meet your idols. They are held back by only one guard, who asks them to wait. After all, Lambert is currently discussing a business proposal. A crowd of people gathered at the entrance to the room. Employees begin to discuss what is happening. One of them doesn't understand what's going on, because everyone went crazy after he came back from breakfast. A friend of his tells him that a new employee from the sales department brought Lambert here. And now they sit in the sales department. The first one will immediately recognize one of the most popular stars. The other one is the same. Notices that recently she starred in several films in the main roles, each of which it grossed over $2 billion at the box office. The third guy notices that really, I didn't expect that their sales could become so large. Director Zhang tries to squeeze through the crowd. He encourages his subordinates to stop crowding and start working. Him and himself. It's interesting to see what happens there. Then Xingxin appears from behind and abruptly prescribes to her man in the face. At the same time, Xiaomin notes to herself that Lambert, just an unbearable star. She didn't expect her to be bossing her around right in front of Luo Chen. It hurts her reputation. The superstar agrees to become a representative, so she informs the hero that her agent will contact her in a short time to discuss priority dates. Luo Chen immediately clarifies about the fee. Lambert says that if the guy promises her something, then you won't have to pay. This surprises even the hero because of what he is doing. He hastens to clarify what he has to promise. The girl wants to invite him to dinner, and he will. I must agree. The brunette agrees to these conditions, and then sees off the superstar. Get in the car and is about to leave. But before that, she says goodbye to the guy, asking not to forget about your promise. The girl already knows that Luo Chen can't escape from her. As soon as she leaves, the hero is approached by a trio of colleagues. Each of them is ready to tear up the other just to help him with the project because they want Lambert's autograph. Director Zhang doesn't understand why the new kid has such a relationship with a superstar because the latter didn't even know his name. Xingxin thinks he did all this on purpose. The man should not be angry, because most likely Luo Chen is fooling Lan buyer. These words, they only make the manager angrier. He suggests that the girl herself tried to deceive such a person. Because fooling people's heads is her skill. The girl offers to search, a reason to fire him, and the man notices that this is a stupid idea, because today all the work is done. The company found out that he had resolved an issue with a large client. If he shoot him out now, then he would be the one to kill. Your reputation will fall below the baseboard. The man decides to deal with this issue differently, because a new employee on the first day of work no longer shows respect to his manager, so he can't let him get away with it. He wants Lai Ru to call Kai to teach the boy lesson. The evening comes, and all the employees head to the party, which will be held in the largest entertainment center in Tongju is Villa Hayes. The hero keeps his own equanimity even at such a moment. Two girls behind him are discussing the master's act. Zhang, after all, this corporate event is clearly going to cost several $100,000. My friend admits that. Before, all she could do was glance sideways in the direction of this building, but she'd never been able to see it. I dared to enter. Luo Chen is curious about what's going on. He wants to get to know you better. Employees of the company to see if there are any people who can be used. The manager is approached by a pumped-up man together with a girl. This is the same Kai. They exchange a couple of phrases. It turns out that the jock works for the bio. This is the boss of the underground world. Tongju, Director Zhang admits that the other person is very cool. Kai wants to meet you, an interesting person who joined their department today. The interlocutor points to the hero, saying that this is the boyfriend of their company's beauty Zhang Xiaoman. Kai goes to get acquainted with a closer brunette. Luo Chen notices Wang Kai. He doesn't understand what this madman is doing here. The last one, she approaches him, asking if he is Luo Chen. The hero attentively looks at it, after which, asks if they know each other, taking silence for a negative answer. He asks the interlocutor, don't block his path. After that, he pretentiously passes by it. Kai also notes that the kid was pretty brave. He wonders if he'll be just as cool. A little bit later, Xingxin notices that Luo Chen has already provoked Kai. Director Zhang notes that it will be very interesting. The celebration begins. Kai congratulates his friend on the purchase, a new car. Xiaoman still decides to ask how her boyfriend met Lan buyer. The brunette claims that it does not concern her. This makes the girl more angry. By noticing, since most people are already full and drunk, Kai suggests that we go upstairs and have a little fun. Have some fun. Zhang doubts this, but the other person points out that this room belongs to the owner, Bio, so he knows everything there. All the manager has to do is bring Luo Chen to him, and he'll take care of the rest. They go up to the top floor, where a huge bunch of people are gambling. Kai says that in the outer zone, the upper limit for open chips is only 1,000, so there are not many people playing here. But in the inner zone there are no restrictions on chips. That's why it's so much more interesting. Xingxin notices that Kai is well versed in this. The latter's companion claims that they go to play every weekend, but this is their first time together. Enter the inner zone. Director Zhang hands his companion a map with 50 points on it, by the thousands, offering to play. After that, he asks if Luo Chen wants to go with Xiaoman, play around. The hero notices that in this casino, 9 out of 10 games are losses. Kai, tell me, what if the guy doesn't have any money? Then let him say so, otherwise his beautiful words don't make any sense. Meaning, Xingxin also says that if he does not play, then he should not spoil the mood. To others, Xiaoman struggles out of Luo Chen's arms, saying that she will go. The guy warns her not to go there. However, the girl claims that it is not her business. She's fuming, but still, he approaches his friends, wanting to spend time with them. The man grins, understanding that the fish was hooked. Xiaoman sits down at the game table with her friends. The dealer deals the cards. As soon as when she sees her cards, she doubles her bets. Xingxin raises the bet. 2 guys in. Kai's girlfriend is passed. That leaves only Xiaoman, who hesitates to give an answer right away. Girlfriend advises her to discard her cards if they are bad for her. Xiaoman decides to increase it. The dealer asks for everyone open their cards. Xiaoman reveals the cards, and it turns out that she has a royal flush. She wins the first con and takes all the money for himself. This makes the girl very happy. At the same time, the guys behind her talk to each other. It turns out that Xiaoman is very lucky, because she is over 5. I raised 20 rounds from a mere 3,000. The other guy asks her how much money she has. There are already straight flushes. Here they turn to the hero, urging him to pay attention to Xiaoman. Another even offers to try it. A friend pulls him down, reminding him that Mr. Zhang wants to deal with Luo Chen, and if they get involved, they might get hurt. The first one, it is claimed that there is nothing to be afraid of, and he likes people like the hero who keep up with him. with dignity. He also reminds a colleague that Luo Chen is familiar with land buyer, so that there may be large connections. The hero at the same time notes that gambling is fun, to which it is better not to touch, because it is impossible to beat avid card players, and the fact that losing that money is just a trick. One of the guys at the table can hear them perfectly. Words, mentally noting that the hero is not so bad, since he understands such things. This player does note that not all people in the sales department are sycophants. The interlocutors of the hero still decide to try to play, because they believe that they can win once and leave immediately without getting involved in this fight. They bid farewell to Luo Chen, who is now in the middle of the night. He remains unconvinced about gambling. The dealer deals out cards for a new game. After receiving the cards, one of the players decides to bet all the chips. This surprises everyone. Those present. Kai is a little tense about it. He approaches the player from the back, deciding to ask him what he was doing, because they had teamed up with him to destroy Xiamen, and in the end, they had been forced to do it. The pro decided to beat them, too. Lao Lai, that's the player's name, talks about his principle. One is he. If you want to sit down at the game table, you need to be equally nice to everyone, because someone's money is not worth it. It will always be their money. Kai begins to believe that his friend is bullying him. Jock, he tries to cheat, but someone sends him away, saying that if he doesn't play, then he should get out of here. Kai decides to get even with the impudent man. He asks his girlfriend to leave so he can sit down at the playing table. He also asks her to take another 200,000. In this, two guys that were confident in their abilities, nervously trembling at the table with horror. Luo Chen urges them to stop. After all, there is no chance of winning. In addition, they are already on the verge of bankruptcy, and if they remain without money, the company will not help them in any way. One of the guys says it won't work that way, but he is playing with money from a credit card. And if he returns without winning, then next month he will be able to pay for it. You will have to eat only the earth. The second young man is no better, because he plays on borrowed money. He believes that he was just lucky a few rounds, but Feng Shui constantly changes its own course, because of which it is simply impossible to always lose. Director Zhang decides to ask Kai about the situation. He clarifies how things are going with his local employees. Friends, the man reminds that they wanted to use Shang Xiamen to dig a hole under Luo Chen. And in the end, it just so happened that most of them lost a lot of money here. Kai, it also requires you not to talk nonsense. It goes through several rounds. The jock flies up from the spot, putting all the money is on the line. He just doesn't believe that he can lose with such cards. His girlfriend, she tries to calm him down, because they don't have much money left. The pros are revealed at him. It turns out to be a square, which is why he wins again. The dealer asks Kai to go to the exchange office to close the debt, because the monetary amount of his bet is greater than the number of chips. Then Kai accuses the player of cheating. Those present support this opinion. After all, he wins more than 10 rounds in a row. And this is no longer like ordinary luck. Two security guards in black glasses appear behind the pitching. They're a head taller than he is. Men asked for. Don't make a fuss with Kai by saying that if he likes to play, then he should also like to play. Lose. The jock takes off, claiming that the guards don't care what he's doing. The opponent cheats. He tries to say that he is not a simple person because he works for the bio. At this moment, another man appears from behind the two thugs. It looks more formidable and confident. This person is Dao, who is Bio's main bodyguard. He encourages the young person who said something like that to come forward. Kai starts to tremble nervously. Out of fear, Kai asks his brother to stop, but Tao prescribes him a delicious bream, forcing him to fall on the ground. He reminds me that Kai doesn't have any right to call him brother. Chief bodyguard. Bio leans over the arrogant upstart, claiming that he has considerable courage since he dared to use the name Bio. Kai apologizes, admitting his mistake, but Tao. He turns his gaze to the two guys who were protesting with Kai. It specifies whether they are. There was a lot of talk about someone cheating here. The two of them look away nervously, afraid to give a chance. Answer. Kai, on the other hand, momentarily forgets his fear and points a finger at the player at the table. The Dao hits him on the foot, saying he didn't ask him. The man explains his behavior. It is considered that this gambling hall is the most honest in all of Tongzhou, so what to say? The fact that someone is cheating here will lead to a deterioration in the reputation of the bio. Director Zhang. He says it's just a misunderstanding. Dao sits down at the counter, saying it's not up to them to decide. He takes a seat at the counter, claiming that he will be watching Lao Lai to ensure that he doesn't dare to play dishonestly. If they are sure of their words and prove them in practice, they will be returned, the entire amount lost, and the case can be considered closed. Two guys who got up to their ears in debts notice that they have lost every penny. The bandits' eyes sparkle. Anticipation. He is ready to lend them money, but they will have to return it 3 times more. 2 guys realize that it is almost impossible to win 3 times as much, and Dao wants to make sure that they dug their own grave. The man also specifies whether they want to play or not. At the same time, he crunches his fists threateningly. These actions give them the creeps. Come forward, Luo Chen, asking, lend him 100 grand. Zai Amen thinks that her young man is crazy. 2 guys trying it out to dissuade, and the hero only says that you just need to recoup. Tao clarifies whether you understand the interlocutor that he will have to return 300,000 to him instead of the 100 borrowed. Luo Chen requires you to start the distribution. Having received the cards, but not even looking at them, the hero puts everything on the line. Money. Zai Amen is horrified, because the guy didn't even look at the cards. Director Zhang and Kai, they are on the same page, because they know that if Luo Chen loses, he will pull them along. Also, they will surely disgrace themselves. Dao is also amazed that a boy with such abilities would dare stand up for others. The player is revealed first. He has 3 queens on his hand. The hero asks for forgiveness. At him, it turns out to be a jack and a king. And along with the cards on the table, it is a straight. He takes the first con. Nobody. He doesn't understand how Luo Chen did it, and Kai's girlfriend thinks he was just lucky. The opponent demands to continue the game. After a few rounds, the hero will have a huge pile. Chips. He won 1,400,000. This is all the money that his colleagues lost. Dao is amazed at what is happening, because the kid has won every blind. It tries to figure out how to do this. The man knows Lao Lai and his gambling skills very well. Besides, he's known as heartless. There's no way he could have intentionally leaked the game. The cards were handed out by a man, Dao, so the hero didn't have the chance to cheat. Luo Chen approaches Dao, informing him that gives him the agreed 300,000. He's about to leave, but he comes out of the next room. The person who says that the others can go, but they will have to stay. By this, the person turns out to be Bio. The audience recognizes the young man as Hong Bio, the king of the Tongzhou underground world. The latter orders his bodyguard to vacate the hall. The Tao orders everyone to leave the hall, with the exception of Luo Chen. Director Zhang nervously thanks for the opportunity. Kai is the same, grabs his girlfriend, realizing that this is their chance to leave. All that remains are the guys for whom the hero also intervened, and Zai Amen. They are hesitant, so Dao them to hurry up, because if they stay here, it's certain death. The hero also notices that if they stay here, then they will. There's nothing they can do to help, so they can go. The first person who decides to go is the girl who leads away. Follow the guys. They descend to the first level of the Villa Hea's underground car park. Guys, I don't like what they did. They can't be considered loyal friends after this, after all. Luo Chen stood up for them. Zai Amen also says that they had no other choice, because against them. Still, Hong Bio made a speech. Guys take this into consideration, realizing that they can only hope that the hero will be alright. The hero decides to find out if the other person really wants him to stay here. Bio lights a cigarette, a cigar from the hands of a subordinate. After which he asks the guy not to worry, because he is just interested. His card skills, which is why he wants to chat with him. Luo Chen says he has nothing to worry about. Talk to him. Tao is blown up, not believing that anyone dares to talk to him like that. His boss, Bio, stops him with a hand gesture. He notices that since the interlocutor is so, if it is straightforward, then it will also speak directly. They give the hero a choice. Either he works for him, or he'll leave him with nothing. The last words make Luo Chen laugh, and then he notes that there is no one here who can do such a thing. The words sting Bio, but he doesn't mind. Decides to specify whether the other person will work for them or not. The hero is surprised. After all, not. He understands who Bio thinks he is to demand this. The king of the underground world is blown up from his place, noting that the interlocutor does not appreciate him at all. Good attitude. In a word, he unleashes on the hero of the Tao, which has long been impatient. Luo Chen, on the other hand, sees through the attacker's soul. He tells us that Tao is covered in blood and other people's souls, and his hands had taken many lives. Before these words, the criminal moves, confident, but he has some hesitation. The hero notices that Tom finally became afraid. The dark-haired man is behind the enemy's back in an instant, declaring that he should be remembered in the next one. I know that in this world, not everyone can be contacted. The Tao assures us that in this world there is no one who would dare contact him. He notices that Luo Chen is behind him. Bandit, prepare to stab him with a knife, but the hero turns out to be the first. He decides to return it to Tom. The same words, so with a swipe of his finger he drives it into the playing table. Mentally, a former immortal notices that Emperor Wuji's breathing has weakened a bit again. He understands that before he will find suitable seeds, he will have to use it sparingly. Other security guards, they fall into a stupor because the guy dealt with their leader in one blow. Another man. He notices that Luo Chen is definitely a top-level martial artist. Bio same. He orders his subordinates not to panic, because even the master has his own limit and they have a lot people, so they'll just take it in numbers. Bio, on the other hand, nervously searches for a contact on his phone while he's waiting for it. People attack the hero in a crowd. Mentally, the king of the Tongju underground world understands that they had stumbled upon the master in a very inappropriate place, so they should call immediately reinforcements, because if everyone found out about today's events, he wouldn't have any more opportunities to do business in this city. Bio puts the phone to his ear, listening to the phone calls. Beeps. He bites his finger, knowing that his men won't last long. After a moment, he realizes that for some reason it became very quiet. He looks up and sees the hero, who clarifies whether he got through. All of Bio's people are already passed out. The phone is finally picked up. Someone asks what's the problem. Case. The king of the underworld is sweating, not knowing what to do. Then the hero gives him permission to answer. It turns out that Bio is calling the hero's student, the same one called the master. Noticing that the colleagues got into trouble, she drops the phone, asking them to get the car ready so they can get out of here. Let's go. The girl also notes that they need to hurry. Bio with a satisfied face. He turns to Luo Chen, admitting that he underestimated him today and that he definitely has a problem. There are abilities, but he should not assume that relying on his dexterity he will be able to. Being headstrong in Tongju, the king of the underworld declares that soon there will be people here, the ones he called, so even if there were 10 of them like him, he still wouldn't know. I won. The hero shows no interest, only asking them to hurry up so that they can speed up. Mentally, the interlocutor is indignant. He wants to recruit someone else, but tells the hero to wait. People are very bored. Luo Chen abruptly leans over the guy, causing him to drop the phone and offering to play something before they show up. The brunette clarifies whether the interlocutor knows what about the game 1000-7. Meanwhile, too, a student arrives at the gambling building along with Master Yu. The latter asks why. Security guards, what is happening in the casino and why they are not inside. The same ones say that half an hour. Lai Bio ordered them to clear the hall, so they went out. Master Yu slaps him in the face, calling him master, a blockhead. They take the elevator to the desired floor. As soon as the doors open, you will see they are presented with an unpleasant picture. Several dozen guards are lying unconscious. The man wonders who Bio has offended this time. At this time, a distant voice is heard, a cry of pain. Bio threatens the hero with violence, receiving blows to the face. He is sure that the guy today, he'll definitely die. Luo Chen is amazed that he is still snapping at him in this position. For him, this is a signal that this is still not enough. Then the king of the underground world hears the girl's voice behind him. Tears welled up in his eyes as his sister came to his rescue. Bio is happy that the master, Yu, is also here. He asks them to save him faster, and the girl recognizes the attacker as her own. Teachers. Bio already believes that the hero will die today. He points out that Luo Chen is not as special as the other one. Same Master Yu. The guy wants to say something else, but the girl prescribes him a strong bream, does not, knowing how he dared. This is baffling to Bio, a representative of the fair sex. The same asks for forgiveness because they failed to properly track their dog and thus insulted the teacher. At the same time, she bows her head in a respectful bow. Then it comes to Bio that this young guy is my sister's teacher. The girl orders a subordinate, open your eyes and listen carefully. She introduces her teacher and dear family guest. The student also notes that the teacher personally saw her grandfather, so the Bio should go to him, address him as Mr. Luo. Bio falls to her knees, begging for forgiveness. He admits he didn't know who I was dealing with and insulted him. The guy also asks Mr. Luo for leniency. Luo Chen passes by, shooting a piercing glance at Bio, who is already beginning to behave. Bury it. The student wants to intervene in this case, but the hero stops him with a hand gesture, saying that since it was her man, then he would leave it to her. The brunette also notices that he doesn't. Be sure to ask their opinion. A representative of the fair sex rejoices, demanding for the subordinate to thank Mr. Luo for showing mercy. Bio bows down. Thanks to. The girl asks the teacher to wait. She catches up with him on the way out of the building. It turns out that she was supposed to give him an invitation letter on behalf of her grandfather to the Tongju auction. The interlocutor hands the guy a beautiful envelope. The hero doesn't understand. Why does he need it? The girl asks if the teacher remembers the small wooden box from paintings. Luo Chen assumes that this is a box of spiritualized seed, so he says. She asks what's wrong with her. The student explains that her grandfather noticed that he was interested in her, and I wanted to invite him to this auction because that wooden box was originally wanted. Put it on it. The hero notices that the Yi family is going out of their way to attract him to their side. It may cause a lot of trouble He informs the student that he accepts the invitation letter. He also asks her to pass on his gratitude to her grandfather. The student declares that he will pick him up in the morning, but Luo Chen insists that it is not necessary, because he will get there on his own. The guy jumps into a taxi and drives away. At the same time, subordinates treat Bio's wounds. The Dao clarifies whether the young man they ran into is definitely their sister's teacher. Bio also notes that today they were disgraced and defeated. It also requires that the next time they met the guy, they were respectful. He also wants to cook expensive gifts so that one day you can personally go to him and ask for forgiveness. Bio realizes that even if they do not have the opportunity to make friends with people of this status, they should not. You can't remain enemies. Events are transferred to the living room of the Yamaha Hotel. Luo Chen puts it on, the suit, and comes in it. He gives the guy at the reception desk his invitation and then passes forward. In the spacious hall, the rich chat about their own business. Chao communicates with an acquaintance who he says that he just saw a new face in this place. The fat man had heard that the new guy had very large connections, so he asks the interlocutor to find out more about him. Then baby Chen asks to see this person, noting that usually people of the same age come here and they almost all know each other here, so he doesn't understand how a stranger could appear here. Then he notices Luo Chen, who is wearing a suit. His appearance angered Ko because he does not know how he got there for such an event. He admits that he knows him. The interlocutor hugs him, stating that Chen is really very cool. The fat man wants to know what family this person belongs to. He wants Ko to introduce him so they can get to know each other. Little Chen also states that this is just nonsense because this guy is just a redneck. The interlocutor reminds us that this is impossible because today there is a private auction, not an open one. This means that a person with no connections would not be able to get here. Ko then claims to have seen the guy for 2 days back. He's willing to give a damn that this guy is just a redneck. The friend decides to accept the words. The guy is for the truth, so he notices that in this case he does not need to talk to him. Get acquainted. The fat man notices that Little Chen's tone has changed, becoming far from normal. Joyful, then Ko says that this puppy dared to recapture the girl from him. These words, they surprise the interlocutor, who believes that the boy was lucky to live since he dared to do such a thing. He steps forward, deciding that he will help his bro deal with Luo Chen. Luo Chen is sitting in the audience reading a book. Ko's friend decides to talk to him. He notices that he hasn't seen him here before, so the fat man asks who he came here with. The hero simply ignores the interlocutor, doing his own thing. Then he decides to step in. Little Chen, he loudly declares that his friend asked Luo Chen a question, and then asks if he is the right person, deaf or dumb. The brunette reports that the wind suddenly blew and raised ripples on the spring waters. The pond. The companions look at the guy with incomprehension, not understanding what he is talking about. They count. What's wrong with his head? Then the girl in the next chair chimes in. She repeats the hero's words, then explains what he wanted to say and what he cares about it. Luo Chen closes the book, stating that dumb people like them need to learn more, otherwise, even to understand that they were cursed, they will be forced to look for an interpreter. Girl, he covers his mouth to keep from laughing, and the two guys start shaking with anger and anger. Friend of Chao, the first one can't stand it. He claims that the guy needs to spend less of his ancient knowledge phrases because he can take his life at any second. Then another person approaches the noisy company, who is in a hurry to understand the situation. This, Manager Lee. The fat man puts a hand on his back, claiming that he arrived just in time. After all, an unknown character somehow snuck in here and made a big fuss. The manager is very politely asks the hero to show him the invitation. Luo Chen also clarifies why the interlocutor. She only asks him because there are so many people here. The man explains his actions by saying that he knows all the other people, and of course they don't need to be checked. The two companions nod, with his head behind the man's back, while he stresses that he has never seen Luo Chen here, and if it doesn't show the invitation letter, then it will have to ask it to leave. The hero decides not to be stubborn and show the invitation letter in a red brochure. The Trinity is surprised by this development of events. The fat man immediately calls it a fake, stating that the beggar cannot to be such a thing. Ko joins in, demanding that Luo Chen stop pretending. Manager Lee asks his friends to be patient, because this may not be good, affect their reputation. He suggests that they go up to the upper hall and rest. And here he is. Be sure to deal with everything. The guys decide to leave this matter to the man and leave. Here, the manager begins to speak quite differently. He notices that he has already done enough to preserve his reputation, so today it doesn't matter if he has an invitation card, a letter or not, for he must leave in any case, and if he is thrown out with a scandal, then this is going to be a very ugly situation. At this moment, several people appear behind Luo Chen. thugs. Then a loud voice from behind makes everyone turn around. I decided to attend the event myself. Elder Yi is the last to approach the manager, noticing that he is too bold. Once, I decided to expel the dear guest invited by him. Lee turns to look at the hero, not sure what it is. He is this guest. Luo Chen notices to himself that the old man has arrived just in time. Otherwise, he would have to expend the rest of Emperor Wuji's strength in such a place. Mr. Yi with his. The granddaughter decides to find out if everything is in order with the hero. The girl also notes that she was late, that he's asking for forgiveness. Luo Chen, on the other hand, is confident, saying that everything is fine and it's unlikely that he is either. Something might have happened. The manager is aware that esteemed Elder Yi is using politeness in speech in relation to someone. This only finally finishes off the man. Granddaughter in. The grandfather notices that the subordinate showed inattention. The latter admits that, I made some serious mistakes and behaved like a blind dog. He wants to say something else, but Mr. Yi shuts him up. Luo Chen insists that it's all a small matter, so don't get angry. Then, the elder orders Lao Yu to deal with it. Events are moved to the top floor. PRJSC. He communicates with his friend, noting that they were well supported by Manager Lee. Interlocutor. He also realizes that some redneck decided to measure up to them. Suitable for friends. Father Ko, who urges you to behave decently, because they say that today the respected. I invited one guest, so he asks me to look him in the eye and promise that they won't show up to anyone. Be rude. Seung says that he's not such a fool, and they all know esteemed Yi, so they can't help it. They can't provoke his people. Also, the kid thinks that given their position, esteemed Yi should also show them some courtesy. Then two men approach the trio. They immediately clarify who they are. At this point, someone from the outside is ordering to throw out Trinity from here. This confuses them. The father, son, and fat girl are forced into a separate room, from which there is only access to the street. The man orders them to get out of here, but the guy's father decides to find out from the head of who in. What's up? The other guy just slams the door in his face without explaining anything. Chow is trying to find out from the father what happened, but the man prescribes a strong beam to his child, sharply, asking who he had insulted. A man has been part of this society for many years, and for the first time, so disgraced. Ko also recalls recent events. He realizes that they don't know anyone. They also insulted Luo Chen. The guy initially thinks that he just has an unrealistic reputation, but then he discards this thought, considering it impossible. The auction is currently underway. In full swing, the host congratulates number 23 on purchasing a pair of hairpins, Dragon and Phoenix, for 170,000 yuan. It warns that soon their employees will be able to. They will sign a contract with them certifying the trade transaction. After that, it goes to the next lot. Luo Chen mentally notes that all the lots here are works of art and antiques. Then Elder Yi asks the hero to wait a little longer, because soon the other one will come. Human. The guy already suspected that the old man invited him for a reason, and now it was revealed. The truth is that he has some business with him. The white-haired man decides to clarify that with the man they're waiting for. He's known for over a decade, and he's never suspected him. And if he hadn't seen the fake on the train then, he would still be in the dark. Here too, a man with glasses approaches them. He apologizes for his tardiness, justifying it by saying that, I was stuck in a traffic jam. Elder Yi looks at the hero expectantly. The expert notices Luo Chen, deciding to clarify what it is. A young man. The old man says that this is his new friend, who has a lot of experience. He has a talent in the field of object identification, and today he has the opportunity to take it to this place. The man grins inwardly, thinking that respected Yi is out of his mind. He's not, especially believes that the young man on the contrary is able to conduct examinations. The expert apologizes by saying that I didn't know they were colleagues. The hero forgives him for this. The same seethes with anger, because with his qualifications and experience, calling this boy a colleague is like flattering him, and the other boy is a coworker. I didn't even compliment him back, just looked down on him. The expert decides to teach you a lesson. An arrogant youngster. At this time, the host puts up a new lot, calling it one of the main ones. This is a bronze antique sword from the Eastern Zhou era. During this period, the skill of the bronze, the art of antiquity has reached its peak. The man notices that this thing is quite good. He also claims that it will be very difficult to find it on the market in such good condition, and the initial price is not high. The expert offers to buy it. The hero intervenes in the conversation, calling. The new lot is a bit questionable. The man decides to show off his knowledge, stating that he has. There is an experience that is several decades long, and his young colleague hardly even knows how much. The item must pass the verification procedures to get to the auction. Luo Chen ignores these questions, words calling the item a fake. The expert gets word incontinence. He doesn't understand how some kid can carry a gun. Such nonsense in front of him. The man notices that it is impossible to evaluate objects just by taking a look at this. Schuinger, on the other hand, mentally notes that what is happening is very familiar to her. The expert is the same. He claims that one talent in this business is not enough, but there must be skill and such. Many years of experience, like his, because that's what he learned. His name is Tang Zhong. Luo Chen didn't. He understands why this whole pointless argument is happening. He suggests simply buying this lot and take a look, because nothing terrible will happen if the examination is carried out several more times. Organizations. The interlocutor does not understand why they should wait for expertise from other people. He's here. Tang Jun asks Mr. Yi to confirm that he is the best appraiser in the world. All Tanju. The old man confirms this, then asks his granddaughter to announce the price. He asks the hero not to attach any importance to this. But in the field of expertise, old Tang never. I was wrong. The latter does not understand how such a young man dared to measure forces with him in his own country. The sphere. In addition, he had spent more time with esteemed Yi than he had ever lived. The organizer announces a price of 3 million, starting the countdown. Schuinger raises the price to 5 million. The two girls present realize that respected Yi's place is there, so no one else is there. Don't dare place a bet. Indeed, the lot goes to Mr. Yi. At this time, the man decides. Tell them that all this time, he was just studying historical information about the era. So as of today, this precious sword has become a rarely seen item among the aristocracy. The expert also notes that the respected Yi has an unusually sharp eye. Otherwise, today, they might make a mistake, because if in the future they would want to buy it at this price, it would be quite difficult. Luo Chen just ignores him, which hits him hard. A man's pride. He breaks down and jumps up, claiming that he was being polite to him, just because the esteemed Yi is here. He didn't expect him to be so ignorant, and dare to provoke him again. The man claims that he is several decades old, thoroughly engaged in the examination of antiques, and there was never such a thing that he did not notice. Marriage. But he only has at least 100 issued licenses. At this time, Mr. Yi approaches a subordinate and whispers something in your ear. The expert notes that they do not know his merits at all, and that still dares to question it. Then the old man claps his hands, riveting her to him. Attention. He says it's all well said, but Mr. Tang will have to explain some things. At this time, the subordinate takes out a paper on which a sword is depicted. This paper confirms that this lot is a fake. The expert can't believe this. Development of events. He again reminds us that all items that get here pass through multi-level verification, so that no fakes were ever found here. Intervenes in the conversation. Schuinger. The girl claims that the man always encouraged his grandfather to buy only fakes because he knew that his grandfather trusted him and would not give them up for examination. Expert advisor. But he calls it slander because there was no benefit for him to do so. Schoolgirl. The hero notices that there was a benefit. She just sent people to investigate about the bronze one, an antique sword, as well as a fake painting from last time. It turned out that the person who gave these items to the auction house was actually Tang Zhong. The man is trying to somehow to justify himself, but the girl continues to push, saying that he bribed appraisers on the auction house so that his fakes get on it, and then bred his grandfather to buy them, and from this, I made a profit. Schuinger still decides to clarify whether the man will admit that he'd done it, or she'd need to bring the appraiser he'd conspired with here, too. Expert advisor crashes on the floor. He turns to Mr. Yi, claiming that he can explain everything. A man on the move. He gives me an excuse, telling me that he recently had an accident in his family, and I needed money. Then the girl reminds that the interlocutor has at his disposal 20 shops that his grandfather gave him. They should have been enough to cover expenses for the entire year. Multiple lives. A representative of the fair sex notes that the expert secretly collected huge amounts of money. She clarifies why he did it. The man is trembling with fear. He puts his hands over his mouth because for some reason he can't say it. Then Mr. Yi, after finding out the truth, he asks Lao Yu to take the deceiver away. Schuinger is indignant. She doesn't understand why this man, who had been working for my grandfather for several decades, turned out to be like this, ungrateful, even though his grandfather provided for him. The elder notices that it is most likely a case of, it's not about money, because this person risked his life for some other reason. There's probably someone who bribed him in some way. The girl takes these words seriously, so she does not understand who else is within them. Tongju could poach such a person. Mr. Yi assumes that his old friend has returned, the enemy, so at the right moment, he would have to trouble Mr. Luo. The last one. He understands that this is the real reason why the Yi family has been so kind to him. At the same time, an extremely special lot is put up for auction, which is the last one. This, title to 120 square meters of real estate in the Panlongwen area. Square kilometers. Its starting price is 1 million. Schuinger hurries to tell you that A few years ago, real estate in this area was worth more than 10 billion, and now it is. One headache. The hero becomes interested in why this is. The girl explains that before that, everything is fine. 3 developers of the Panlongwen district died under mysterious circumstances on the 7th day after taking office. The construction crew that went there was also killed. Total, within a few years, dozens of human lives were lost. When the dead were found, they all looked extremely terrifying and frightening. However, the body wasn't even covered in blood. Small wounds were also found, and no illnesses were found. Besides, they found more yesterday. One victim in the area. The deceased is a taxi driver. They say that neither by car nor by car. There was no damage to the body. The hero also grabs the taxi driver, remembering something important. No one ever decides to buy. The host understands that if no one makes a bet, then we'll have to deal with the failed auction. 2 girls communicate with each other. One notices that it used to be the most expensive piece of land in Tongzhou, but today it is being given away, almost for nothing, but no one takes it. The interlocutor claims that only a fool will take this one. Well, after all, this fun is life-threatening. Only those who are tired of living will become. This is to buy. Luo Chen stands up from his seat, announcing that he is buying this item. Chapter 1-23. There is a minute's pause. Everyone is impressed by this statement. 2 girls. We are amazed that someone actually dared to place a bet. One of them is even interesting. Where did this guy come from? Even the host freezes in place. Her boss asks her to hurry. The aristocrat from the next balcony becomes really curious. It notices that if this person can stay there for 7 days, then she won't mind getting to know him. Shuinger is shocked by what Master is doing. She reminds me that everything they've just been talking about. They said it wasn't a joke at all. Even Mr. Yi asks him to think about it seriously. The hero is the same. He straightens his tie, assuring them that he'll be fine and they can rest easy. The girls. There are still doubts, but after looking at her grandfather, she decides to accept it. Here in it, a credit card is flying. Luo Chen reports that there is 1 million on the card. He asks her to settle the transaction formalities and sign everything in his stead. He says goodbye, stating that he has things to do. The student decides to find out where the mentor is going. Hero without. Yudeki replies that he is on his way to Panlongwen. Luo Chen drives his car to Panlongwen. He notes that this place is located very close to the city area, but it is very empty. The hero understands that the news is not. They lied, but he still wants to see for himself how much evil power is hidden there in the end. Evil spirits. He gets out of the car and sees cyclones circling over the completed building. Dark energy. The dark-haired man holds out his hand, telling them to leave. He is still amazed that at the midday hour, when the sun Kai is extremely pure, so much dark energy could be gathered here. Cold evil energy. He moves closer to the unfinished building, realizing that the main thing is that the building is not built. The construction has already been completed, and that a lot of money was spent on it once. The hero is being stopped. The feeling that something is wrong here. He makes the frame with 4 fingers. Luo Chen feels that on a high mountain, the lone wind is raging. It turns out that this is the place from the very beginning. It collected the souls of the dead. A single high-rise building also collided with several bloody deaths, and it's not surprising that there are so many harbingers of trouble here. Apparently, after he gets it, he will have to put a lot of effort into converting it. In that moment, a plump woman runs up to the hero. She asks him not to go to this building because something's going on inside. The woman notes that time will pass, and he will never see her again. He can leave even if he wants to. Luo Chen suggests that the earth is shrouded in spirits. He doesn't feel it. However, Emperor Wuji's power didn't react at all. The interlocutor takes it out of her bag, a blueprint left by her son, who once worked here as a builder during his lifetime. She points out that this is a very large place. So if you don't know how to get out, then you should go to the path specified there. The hero accepts the gift, realizing that it is a master's drawing. Works. After a moment, he looks up, but she's already gone. Luo Chen enters the building. Inside, he feels something unusual. It finds the source of problems. Presumably, the damage to the feng shui flow in these buildings was done intentionally by the designer. The guy tries to understand why this was necessary. Most likely, this is for the sake of creating a large seal that collects spirits. The hero notes that 9 evil spirits are connected and act against the will of heaven. He understands that the evil spirit who did this is really crazy. While Luo Chen is trying to deal with this force, he is ordered to raise his hands from behind. He looks around and sees 3 policemen. The hero realizes that he has an obstacle. The policeman asks who he is, and the girl calls for raising your hands. They notice that the hero, he makes strange movements with his hands, and one of them says it out loud. The girl is the same. She warns him that she's counting to 3, and if he doesn't answer, she'll make a warning call. Shot. And one of the guys starts with 3 at once, making a shot. The bullet passes in several directions, inches from Luo Chen's head. The latter turns in their direction, calling them to himself. A bunch of fools. The girl also shouts at her partner, asking what they would do if I really hit it. The comrade declares that this person dared to resist them orders, so he should have given him a warning. Representative of the beautiful, Paula calls her partner a blockhead, after which they return their attention to the hero. Man, he asks why he came here. The girl also says that in the territory of Panmongwen, there were several murders, so it was sealed off by law enforcement. Luo Chen realizes that Emperor Wuji's remaining strength should be enough to calm them down, but then he won't be strong enough to deal with this thing. They are also aware that entering into conflict with law enforcement agencies is not the smartest choice right now. It remains for him. Only act on the situation. The girl mentally notices that the guy opposite is about. She's her age, but he doesn't panic at gunpoint. She's amazed at that. How well it is developed psychologically. The hero raises his hands, urging the police not to be nervous. It appears to be normal. He was a fan of the supernatural, so he came to this place to shoot some videos. The police officer doesn't believe him, believing that he is a serial killer who is connected to the murders in this city, and that he belongs to the category of criminals who return to the scene. Crimes. The girl has a better shutter speed. It asks you not to use it. Co-worker inertia thinking and pass judgment as you please, because they are serious. Refer to evidence. The girl asks the hero to help her to conduct an investigation. After all, they currently have a specific situation, and if the guy is telling the truth, then after the interrogation, they will release him. Luo Chen is a little surprised at how they ask him for help. Cooperation. The girl puts him in handcuffs, noticing that this is an order. They decide. Go back to management. They've been walking for half an hour, but they keep coming back to the building. The man thinks that there was a malfunction in navigation. The girl does not believe in it, because they are all the time. They went north and didn't even change direction. Luo Chen decides to tell them the truth. It turns out that in the territory of Panmongwen there are 9 spirits that spoil feng shui. They cover 9 of the 12 shichen. So, in addition to the intervals from 7 to 9, from 9 to, you can't get out between 11 and 1 o'clock. The girl claims that this is just superstition. She also notices that the young man's head is already full of thoughts about supernatural phenomena at his age. For her, this becomes a wake-up call, so the servant of the law claims that even if there are no problems with him, she will still have to do a good job of his ideological education. The friend notes that education will not help such people, because the guy came from the village and there is a chance that he did not even go to the middle class. At the same time, the man shows the girl the hero's identity card. Representative of the beautiful Paula doesn't share his opinion. She encourages her partner to choose their expressions, because even if they talk about a suspect, they must maintain a minimum of politeness. The sun is sinking below the horizon. The police start to panic. The man nervously says that they came out on a road that could have been completed in half an hour, having spent as much as 4 hours, but they again found themselves in the same place. The policeman clutches his head, emphasizing that they've already tried everything, which makes him ready to believe that this place is really unusual. The girl does not fully believe in this, stating that they definitely made a mistake somewhere. Luo Chen realizes that this girl was really unyielding, because she stubbornly dragged them here until the evening. The guy understands that it's about 5 or 7 o'clock in the evening, and those guys can appear at any moment. The hero approaches the police and demands to remove the handcuffs. He warns them that if they want to get out, they must do as he says. The girl is ready to agree to this, but the harsh light hits her eyes, attracting attention. A taxi pulls up to them, in which the same missing driver is sitting. A grumpy cop steps forward. He doesn't know how the taxi got here, or why it was so late in the first place. The taxi driver says that he just gave a ride to a neighboring city and thought that it would be unprofitable to go back with an empty transport, and he was just passing this beautiful place, which is why he decided to stop by and see if anyone was there. The third policeman puts a hand on his colleague's shoulder. He notices that it's not a good idea to continue walking around in circles here, so they'd better try going with him. The interviewee admits that this makes sense. After that, he turns to the driver, specifying whether he will give them a ride to the parking lot at the tourist center, otherwise they left their official car there. A colleague calls the girl, offering to get in the car and go. Luo Chen also warns that if she doesn't want to die, then she shouldn't go, because that driver is already dead. They don't understand why others hesitate. He decides to stop by the salon. There, the guy discovers a taxi driver's license. He becomes familiar with the name Zhang Liu. He recalls that just this morning he was told that a man had found a body in the Longwen district. The policeman shivers, and the dead man turns his head sharply toward him. At this time, the girl chastises the hero, stating that if he once again puts forward his ideas about spirits and interferes with the execution of the law, then, in accordance with the law, she will arrest him. At this moment, a heart-rending scream is heard from the taxi. The cop doesn't understand what's going on. She pulls out her gun, urging Luo Chen to stand still and not move while she goes to take a look. The hero mentally notes that it is difficult to convince a person who is destined to die with good words. A dead taxi driver crawls out of the car window, saying that the passenger should not run away because he will give him a ride. The police officer is in a state of shock. He calls for help. The girl intervenes. She's trying to figure out what's going on. A representative of the fair sex points a weapon at the monster, warning that an attack on the person during the execution. This is a serious crime. The taxi driver turns his head 180 degrees, noticing the beauty. At this moment, a third policeman appears behind the girl, who, apparently, has long been dead. She doesn't know what's going on. At this time, Luo Chen takes off the handcuffs, mentally noting that it is difficult to adapt to the feeling of complete restriction. He decides to think carefully about finding the spirit seeds after he returns. Then the hero feels the appearance of someone behind him. He looks around and sees the woman who gave him the map. Luo Chen realizes that this is a spirit connected to the earth. The guy decides to hurry up the interlocutor, specifying what is the matter. The same one asks him to help those young people, otherwise they will die. The hero turns around, saying that he can't do it. The woman bows her head in despair. Luo Chen also points out that it's not morning after all, so if she doesn't want to be eaten away by the evil aura and become an evil spirit, then she should immediately disappear. The interlocutor also notices that if the guy is able to understand that drawing, then he must have a way to save them. She doesn't want to let people die in this place. Luo Chen, on the other hand, doesn't understand what method he's talking about. He also notes that he has no reason to show his secret trump card here. The woman lets out her aura, trying to get her own way. The hero is not inferior to her. At this time, the police officer pushes the attacker away from her, after which she recognizes him as Lao Lo, her comrade. The second policeman asks his partner to save him. The guy is in a difficult situation. The monster driver was already climbing on top of him, about to sink its sharp teeth into his flesh. A representative of the fair sex makes a shot in the back of evil spirits, because of which the latter falls to the ground. She runs up to her friend, wanting to help him up, but he pushes her away, starting to run away in a panic. The policewoman wakes up in a moment. Both monsters had already taken aim at her. The girl shivers as she sees the monsters moving towards her. She demands that they don't fit. Those who ignore her order continue to move. Then she opens fire. 2 bullets hit a former taxi driver. One caters to the stomach and the other to the left side of the chest. But this does not stop the monster. The police officer doesn't understand how this is possible, because she was hit right in the heart. Even before her death, she believes that somewhere she just made a mistake. Tears trickle down her cheeks. The monster raises its hand to kill her, but Luo Chen intervenes. He cuts down one of the monsters, which then turns to dust. The second evil spirit does not understand who he is. The hero also gives him 3 seconds to thoroughly remember the wonderful time when he was a man. The monster puts his hands out in front of him, asking him to wait, but Luo Chen says that time is up. After that, he dispels the monster with a wave of his hand. The hero orders the girls to go to him. She tries to get to her feet, but she can't do it. Apparently, due to a bad fall, she injured her leg. Luo Chen exhales heavily, but still scoops up the policewoman in his arms. She wants to say something, blushing with embarrassment, but the guy demands that she stop talking. During the journey, she decides to question her savior. She asks the following questions. Who is he? How did he remove the handcuffs? What happened to the other 2? What did he just do with them? Luo Chen doesn't want to answer so many questions, so he says that he will only answer one, so the girls should think carefully. Then a representative of the fair sex asks how they can get out of here. The guy also recalls a recent conversation with the spirit. The place where the 9 evil spirits generate yin is a seal that concentrates the spirits and locks up the souls of the dead. Everyone who was killed here became evil spirits. And when the number of evil spirits reaches 90, the king of evil spirits will be incarnated. If these people are absorbed by the evil aura, then the local master will awaken. By that time, even if the hero's skill level becomes even higher, he should not think that he will be able to get out of this situation in one piece. The hero then realized that the interlocutor wants to force to save people. He admits that he is very sorry, but judging from what he has just encountered, this magic seal is striving to form, and it has very little left. It can be said that even the earth spirit is here. It is necessary to turn into evil spirits, but this will not affect him in any way. Then the woman asks what the hero will do if this magic seal also holds back the dragon veins. Luo Chen runs into the house with the police officer in his arms. He demands that she get off by simply stretching out her arms. The same one asks you to do it easier. When the girl is on her feet, she looks around, realizing that they are in some old house. She decides to clarify why the savior brought her here. The brunette asks her to be quiet, explaining that they won't be able to leave tonight. This surprises the fair sex, and the hero admires the appearance of a powerful stream of scarlet energy that hits the sky. Luo Chen says that the police officer will stay in the house tonight. He instructs her not to leave it a single step until dawn. The guy snaps 2 fingers, creating a defense. The girl ceases to understand anything, so she demands an explanation. The hero says that he has no normal explanations, but only superstitions. This angers the cop, but she accepts the fact that the guy was very vindictive. She recalls recent events, admitting that they are simply incomprehensible to the mind, even though she's experienced it firsthand. She still can't believe that the supernatural forces can actually exist. The girl decides that tomorrow she needs to submit a petition to the General Directorate of Law Enforcement to raise the level of investigation of the Longwen District to the highest. She believes that it is necessary to make everything secret explicit. Then she notices that the guy has opened the door. The girl is in a hurry to find out where he is going. Luo Chen explains that he is going to rescue her partner. The police officer recalls that Commander Zhu ran away from her. She swallows her pride as she asks if the guy will be back. The hero does not give an answer, closing the door behind him. Outside, Luo Chen realizes that the earthbound spirit did not lie, although his divine Kai hasn't been awakened yet, and he can't sense the faint energy of heaven and earth. However, judging from the signs of this spirit seed's rebirth, it's safe to say that there are indeed dragon veins in this place. If originally each of the evil spirits in the 9 evil spirits focusing seal needed to be corrupted by at least 10 evil spirits to activate the seal, now, due to the influence of the dragon veins, they would only need half of the original amount to complete the ritual. The hero is attacked by one of the monsters. He easily dodges its attack, and then deals with it with a single swipe of his finger. After that, other monsters run to the sounds of battle. He recalls Xia Jingjing's words, according to which, to date, there are only 40 cases in the Panlongwen District case 3 victims. If you add poor Luo, there are 44 law enforcement officers. Thus, the last evil spirit is missing to form the 9 evil spirits connection. If at least one more person is damaged by the evil aura and turns into evil spirits, then everything will get out of control. He's glad the girl hid in that wooden hut. Emperor Wuji's remaining strength is enough to make it impossible for these vermin to even come close to him. The biggest problem right now is the missing guy. Luo Chen provokes a mob of evil spirits to attack him. At the same time, the police officer gets to a strange pole in the building, which is shrouded in a strange energy, and on it there are several seals in the form of pieces of paper. The guy doesn't understand what it is. In fact, this is the king of evil spirits. At this time of night, someone calls. Her father is very worried about her, so he doesn't understand where she ran off to again at 11:30 in the morning. She tries to explain that she has already sent him a text message saying that she is on an overtime shift at the department, which is why she will not return home this evening. The man also emphasizes that right now he is in their control. He focuses on the fact that the girl is getting bolder and bolder since she dared to arbitrarily exceed her authority and lead the group. Her father gives her 30 minutes to get home, or he'll have them all suspended. The boss is no exception. The girl wants her father to listen to her, but he hangs up. She kicks the furniture in anger, then notices that her leg doesn't hurt anymore. She thinks about what she should do. A representative of the fair sex is aware that the man said that you cannot go out until dawn. But if she continues to hang around here, then her professional career will end there. She recalls Confucius saying that he didn't talk about supernatural things. She decides to leave the house. Here the girl is not allowed to leave the spirit of the earth, which pushes her away, closing the exit. The woman declares to herself that you cannot go outside, because it is very dangerous. No matter how, they need to wait out this evening. The spirit realizes that this girl is a good person. In addition, she has a celestial with her, so she must be protected. The policeman decides to find out who is in front of her. The spirit is a little surprised that the interlocutor can see it. The woman realizes that she has not seen her before, which leads to the conclusion that the boy did something to her. The woman recognizes the girl as Miss Xia, and the latter is shocked, not understanding how the woman opposite can be alive. At the same time, a police officer runs away from one monster, asking for help from at least someone. He tries to hide around the corner, but there's another thing waiting for him. He shouts that they don't respect military morals at all. Realizing that he is cornered and has nothing left to lose, he decides to fight to the end. A man with fists and tears in his eyes pounces on one of the monsters. He strikes the body with his eyes closed. Nothing happens for a few moments, and then he opens his eyes. The monster turns to dust before our eyes. The guy thinks that his opponents are very weak, or he is very strong. At this point, someone reaches back by the scruff of the neck of the policeman. The hero reacts in time, leading the person away from the blow of the next monster. Luo Chen calls the guy an idiot, and then kills the second monster. The hero approaches the post. The hidden dragon is coiled up in a pool. Evil spirits are hiding behind a mountain range, relying on immature dragon veins that have been accumulating for 100 years. Now only one sacrifice is missing, and then it will be possible to combine the accumulated souls into flesh and return to life, violating the laws of nature. It's just a pity that he made a mistake in choosing the location, since this piece of land belongs to Luo Chen, who wouldn't be allowed to leave a pest like him behind. And these dragon veins would be the first nutrient to awaken his inner divine Kai. The hero is going to finish what he started. At the same time, a police squad enters the territory of this area. The head of the department orders everyone to search separately so that they will definitely find them today. The two guys start a conversation among themselves. It turns out that Xia Jingjing is the eldest daughter of a famous family. One of the guys doesn't understand why she should risk herself so much by pointing out that she doesn't have any connection. A colleague suggests that the girl wanted to prove that she herself is capable of something. A friend notices that this is a very unwise approach with her position, because it would be better for her to find a groom early. A colleague asks a friend if he has any chances. The interlocutor turns around, stating that if only in his distant dreams. At this moment, an ominous figure appears in front of the policeman. The guy wants to warn his partner, but doesn't have time. The monster touches it, activating the seal. At this point, a dark hand is directed towards the hero. Events go back a week. It turns out that the woman came to the police about the loss of her son. His name was Zhao Jisheng. He was 29 years old. He graduated from the University of Architecture and worked as a chief design engineer for a hotel in the Panlongwen district. She said that her son disappeared a week ago and did not respond to calls and messages. Her husband passed away early, and her son had to share all the hardships and losses with her since childhood. But he was always very reasonable and never gave any reason to worry. Previously, when he was busy at work, it was still through I've been calling for 2 days, and now I haven't been in touch for several days. The police officer also asked her mother not to worry, because as soon as they registered all the data and confirmed that there were no errors, they would be able to request video monitoring throughout the city, so they would find it very quickly. The woman is about to leave, but the policeman stops her. She had just looked at the data on her son, from which she concluded that the living conditions for their family should be quite good. The woman explains that she cannot spend the money that her son earned without sparing his life. After a while, the girl comes to his supervisor, who has no authority to investigate without any reason, even though the surveillance system has shown that the person disappeared near the Panlongwen area. The man asks that the subordinate not get excited. It's all about the Panlongwen area itself, which is considered a strange place. The authorities have long sealed it, and it is not known when this ban will be lifted. Plus, it's been 10 days and the person hasn't returned. The boss says it doesn't bode well. These words make the girl angry. She doesn't want to be left out because there was only a mother and son in that family. They were each other's mainstay, and now they are the only hope. The representative of the fair sex notes that people disappear without a trace in the territory under their jurisdiction, so they simply have to find them. The man decides to go all in. If the girl now calls her father, and he agrees, he will immediately apply for a temporary lifting of the ban and allocate her their investigators. The girl doesn't understand why she has to call her father for this. She focuses on the fact that people are disappearing there, so it really doesn't bode well. The boss turns away, saying that she will have to find a way to do it herself, because he will not dare to take on such a responsibility. The police officer turns around, claiming that she herself will go to the main department to ask for authority to investigate. The man decides to say that the day before yesterday that woman came again, and he sent her out, so she will not come again, so the subordinate may not bear this psychological burden. The girl sees 2 colleagues carrying the body for examination. Commander Zhu says that this is the body of a deceased woman, which was discovered by fishermen on the beach this morning. According to preliminary reports, the place of death should be in the Panlongwen area, but it is not known what the woman was doing there. A colleague shows a photo of the deceased police officer. Commander Zhu asks that the girl then search the system for information about the deceased. The photo shows the same woman who came to her a few days ago about the loss of her son. The policewoman's hands are shaking. She vows that she will conduct a thorough investigation into the case. At the same time, the hero blocks the strike of a new enemy. This causes him to fly back a couple of meters, dropping to one knee. The unknown man says that his flesh and blood were separated, imprisoned in a grave, and he was a rotting corpse for more than 600 years. He asks 2 guys if they know what kind of flower it is. A policeman intervenes in the conversation. He believes his ears and eyes. The awakened dead person takes this as a gesture of arrogance. He also heard the hero trying to take over his powers that he had been saving up for 100 years. This crime deserves the highest punishment. Luo Chen takes the King of Evil's blow on himself. The latter is amazed that the enemy was able to avoid hitting a vulnerable spot twice in a row. But in spite of with Luo Chen's strength, it's still being driven into the wall. The entity acknowledges that if the opponent had appeared a couple of days earlier, they would have been considered a worthy opponent. The hero's glasses fall off his face. He admits that he is really a little sorry, because initially he wanted to wait until the spiritual seed is fully restored, and then gradually direct his spiritual forces to awakening. He climbs out of the wall, stretching his arms and declaring that he rarely gets the chance to meet a good target, so it's time to test his abilities after waking up. A golden circle of energy appears under the guy. The enemy initially assumes that the guy has awakened his divine Kai right now, but then begins to consider all this nonsense, because it took him more than 30 years to use the great power of Yin to awaken divine Kai. Luo Chen folds the seal of concentration. It is enveloped in streams of golden energy, which is becoming more and more every second. The king of evil spirits realizes that the opponent wasn't joking about the awakening at all. He takes off, intending to kill the impudent man before his awakening is over.